watch us on YouTube, we're there as well. There we go. Look, live on YouTube. Wow, this is magic. We are trying, by the way, guys, to work out if we can go live on LinkedIn as well, which will be exciting. So for those of you that haven't joined us before, my name is Katie Street. I think I need to do something special, and otherwise we might get feedback on YouTube, but we'll see. Tell me if you're getting any feedback. On YouTube, we're there as well. There we go. Look, live on YouTube. Wow, this is magic. We are trying, by the way, guys, to work out if we can go live on LinkedIn.
With a satellite delay.
So for those of you that haven't joined us before. Oh God. Okay. Block microphone. I think that's fine. Sorry. There was bound to be something that went wrong. So yeah, we've got over that now. Whether the YouTube is still working or not, I have no idea, but it stopped repeating on me, so that's good. So yes, welcome everyone. I probably should have practiced this, right? The typical Katie winging life as usual. So for those of you that haven't attended the World of New Biz before, my name is Katie Street. I am going to be your host for today, and we every single month host this on the first Tuesday at 11 a.m. and explore all of the things that can help you attract and win more new clients. And today we are approaching it slightly differently, and we're probably going to be digging into subjects that we maybe haven't explored quite as deeply before, because today we are going to be talking about agency growth. So of course, your marketing and your new business strategies affect your growth, and we are going to be talking about that. And I think definitely, well, all of us here today have definitely got an opinion on that, especially probably myself, Michelle, Gordan, and Rory. We all have. So certainly we're going to cover off the new business and marketing elements, but we're also going to look at some of the more practical elements in terms of growth that you can implement within your agency to stabilize, to make sure you grow, hopefully fast but at a steady pace, and the things that are going to be important for you to consider whilst you're growing. So for me, that's definitely been understanding how quickly I need to recruit, and not being scared to do that. It's been one of my really big learnings. Any of you that also listen to the podcast will have probably heard me talk about that. So I'm just going to get everyone's profiles up. Before we get into the conversation, I'm going to introduce, of course, our fantastic guests for today. So first up, and hopefully you can all see the grid in the same way that I can, but I have the lovely Michelle Goodall. Michelle is the CMO at Guild, and hopefully most of you already know about Guild. It is a really great platform. It really helps pull the, marketing communities together, essentially, Michelle.
All communities. So we've got risk management, we've got agencies, marketing, comms professionals. We've got teachers and academics. It's a community platform, so it's for anybody. But we do sort of over-index on professional communities because that's been our positioning really since day one.
Yeah, and it is great, and we're definitely going to be exploring other conversations outside of today to see how we can work together more, hopefully with Tamba. But as well as obviously being the CMO at Guild, Michelle is a recognised speaker and specialist in digital marketing. I am reading this. I don't remember everything, believe it or not. I'm quite good. But she's had 23 years of marketing and comms experience in a mix of agency and client side roles, including e-consultancy, Lexis PR. She has a fantastic view from both sides of things. So coming at it from an agency point of view, coming at it from a client's point of view, and of course now sat kind of in the middle at Guild. So she's got some really great ideas on growth, marketing especially, and how agencies can really focus in on that. Second up, I have one of my lovely clients who's obviously going to just rave about how brilliant Street is. And in fact, Gordan, you were officially Street's first ever client. So thank you for that. And yeah, Gordan, well, not only is he's one of those kind of unicorns that is just brilliant at everything, but has worked at some of the biggest agencies in, account management, operations, new business, and is basically just brilliant at everything. So yeah, thank you, Gordan, for joining us today. Say hello to everyone.
That's right. Hello. Thank you. That's quite an intro, and hopefully I can live up to it. So yeah.
Gordan, a legend.
Yeah, he is a legend. He's amazing. And everything just looks beautiful that he does. Just produces the most amazing keynote decks, brilliant spreadsheets. Just, yeah, he's amazing. So yeah, go Gordan. And we love working with him. And last but not least, my sort of newfound friend. We haven't met in person yet, have we, Rory? I feel like we have.
I know, it does feel like it.
And I've been on some of your courses at the Wow Company, and I kind of want to introduce you as well, I guess you run most of the Wow Company's events, training, you lead clients. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about what you do at Wow?
Yeah. So I guess the background about Wow is we're an accountancy firm that really specialises in working with marketing agencies, generally those with between 5 and 50 staff as well. So it's the small guys, it's the medium guys, and that's where we're really passionate. And my role is in really hanging out with agency owners all day, every day. It's not really work. I just get to chat to agency owners, find out, actually what they're doing that makes them tick, what they're doing that maybe doesn't make them tick, some of the challenges that they have. Of course, some of the people out there listening will be aware of our bench press report that we do every year as well, which is a really cool tool. We'll probably lean on that a little bit today, I guess later on. That's just got some awesome insights. If you don't know what bench press is, it's a survey that we send out every year that asks agency owners how they do things, how they charge, how much they pay themselves, where they win new business, how much cash they've got in the bank, like you name it, we've probably asked it. And it's free to download. So really, really handy tool that we'll come back to you later, I'm sure.
Amazing. Yeah, no, I mean, what a panel, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. I know I'm going to learn a lot today. Now, Gordan, I don't feel that we did tribal justice there. So can you tell us a bit more about Tribal Worldwide as well?
No problem. So Tribal Worldwide, we've been going for, I think, about 25 years now. We're part of the DDB group. And we sort of cover sort of full spectrum of sort of digital mainly services. So we do everything from the sort of creative and campaign work all the way through to sort of the website design and development, data analytics, business consulting, and a bit of everything really. And we've worked with some very, very large brands. Volkswagen's probably our longest standing client. Been working with them for, I think, over 15 years now, and sort of some of the other brands in the group as well. And I've been there for, I think, about 10, maybe 10 and a half years now. And it's a great place to work, do some great work. And I've learned a lot there, which hopefully I can share some of today.
Yeah, and we're having a good year on new business as well at the moment.
It's been a really good year.
Yeah, all down to us, obviously.
Of course.
Team effort. We're very much integrated into the team at Tribal, and it's been a lot of work over the past couple of years, but we're really starting to reap the rewards this year. So it's been a fun journey. So going along that theme, I'm going to come to you first, Gordan. And guys, sorry, as usual, those of you that haven't been with us before, please submit questions into the Q&A. I can see that people are already saying hello to each other in the chat. Please do that. Do push any questions onto the Q&A, because then I can make sure that I get them answered. And if we don't manage to cover them, I promise to come back to you post event. So I'm going to come to you first, Gordan. Obviously, you've been at Tribal and you've seen an immense amount of growth. What do you think what are the important ingredients from a growth perspective to you?
I think it's one of those questions I could ramble on for hours, but I'll try and keep sort of relatively concise. I think the main thing is knowing where you're truly strong. I think that often within an agency, you're going to get a lot of different opinions from different people. Every head of department and person will think, no, this is the most important. This is the most important. I think sometimes it needs a sort of someone to try and be a little bit neutral and go, look, actually, this is our real strength. We might want to grow in this direction, but actually this might be the way we need to go. So we might want to be we want to be seen as the most creative agency. That's great. But actually, if your strength is in the sort of website development, that's maybe where you could focus on to get really growth going if you're at a bit of a standstill. So I think it's really understanding that and being quite honest with yourself of going, we might want to be over there, but can we do it today? Maybe not. Look at the inbound you get as well. That was a job we did really sort of last year once we started to really collect a lot of data of going, it's very easy to have a perception of who you are and who people think you are in the market, but also what do people actually send you? What are you getting as inbound? If you're getting a load of briefs that say X and you're wanting briefs that say Y, well, something's not right. That can't be changed overnight. That takes time to really craft your message, get out in front of that, etc. That's not a quick fix overnight, but it's be honest with yourself and see what's coming in, and then you can grow from there. If you're just trying to sort of just keep banging the wall and it's not working, then try and work out why, it's difficult. It's everyone's going to have an opinion. Some people will have been on the sort of losing end of certain pitches and take that very emotionally. Other people will have won something 5 years ago and go, well, because we won that thing, this is what we must always do. And it's like, but things keep changing as well. You're competing with different people. So it is a very difficult thing, but I think that core thing is understand where you are strong. Why is someone going to hire you? It's people don't generally hire sort of general agencies to do a bit of everything. They did when something was new. So when digital was new, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years ago, when it was suddenly like, keep going. They're the only people who could build me that Flash microsite, or they're the only people that could do that particular thing over there. It was relatively easy. There was only a handful of people. That's not the case anymore. It's like, why are they going to hire you as that agency? And what you think you are versus what others will see you as is very rarely aligned. If it is, then amazing. You're probably on a brilliant sort of growth spurt. But it's that sort of real, having that honest, let's see what they are. Ask your clients. Like if you've won clients or clients who've been there for years, talk to them and ask them, why do you work with us? How would you describe us? Like if they were referring onto someone else, how would they describe Tribal? How we'd like to talk about ourselves is probably not how others talk about ourselves as well. And that's okay, but understand that and then go, right, do we want to change that? Are we okay with that? It's a complex problem. So.
Yeah, and I think you're so right, Gordon, and probably one of the biggest step changes that we've made over the past couple of years is really focusing on developing a marketing strategy and marketing content, because agencies, and Rory, you'll know this from working with smaller agencies, and I've also been lucky enough to sit on the board at really small agencies and, work at middle size and big networked agencies, and also have clients of every size. But I think most agencies will often rely on referrals to a certain point, or rely on incoming to a certain extent. And what that means is that you're exactly like you're saying, Gordan, you're not always receiving the briefs that you want to get, because you're not marketing yourselves well enough and talking to the audience about the things that you really do and that you really can help your audience with. So I think understanding what and how you can help and the problems of your audience, and I'm really sorry I sound like a broken record because I talk about this so much, but it's so important. If you're not pushing that content out, you'll obviously, most agencies will get some referrals, some new business, but they may not be what you want or the right fit for you unless you really focus on developing that message and pushing it out to the market. Because if you don't, you don't get the right opportunities. It is that simple. It really is.
I think just on the sort of content point, it's something that working with obviously your team, Katie, and we've done internally ourselves over the last couple of years, is really look at what should our marketing content be and what message do we want to put out there. We have quite a broad range of services, which we do for all our clients, which is great to have that breadth, but we can't talk about everything all the time. It's really forced us to go, actually, what are those 2 or 3 things that we can keep hitting on all the time? This is what we're great at. We need to tell people about it. Occasionally we'll jump in with something else, or we're not going to ever not respond to a brief if it fits something that's over here, but the absolute core of what we do, and that's what we keep pushing all the time, so that we start to build up that sort of message and people start to see it in different forms. But that's not easy, because then you're effectively telling certain parts of the business or certain people in the agency going, your stuff, it's great, but we're not going to shout about it for now, because if we do, we're taking away airtime and space from another message, which is probably have to sort of have a sort of theory at some point of going, we think that's going to chime better with the people that are seeing us.
So Rory, you probably have a slightly different view of this, because you work, I get you don't probably have a different view, but you're going to have additional things that you can bring to the table in terms of those kind of key components for growth. Anything that you, I guess, would prioritize, or that you do prioritize with agencies when you're helping them with a kind of growth plan at WOW?
Yeah, 100%. Every agency owner I seem to talk to is always thinking about growth and focusing on growth. That's always the aim, isn't it? I guess, typically being accountants, we look at it from a financial perspective and tend to try and shift the focus to profitability beyond turnover. So we've all heard it around, turnover is vanity and profit is sanity, but like that's a saying that we have all been bored to death about because it's true. So, you know, we really will always put a focus on profitability and how can we do things in a sustainable way as well. So, you know, to relate that to new business, well, actually, it's not about winning your largest ever client. If winning your largest ever client means you suddenly under deliver for all of your other clients and you lose like any control over a pipeline and suddenly go into this boom bust cycle, well, is that really a win beyond actually just consistently picking up clients that are right for you, that are, you know, qualified correctly, that you know are the right size for you? I think we would always sort of favor that approach when it comes to new business. And I guess when I talk about profitability, Katie, the sort of obviously the program that you came on with us was a 5-part series around profitability, and those 5 parts were planning, were pricing, were managing projects profitably, were generating profit from your existing clients, and having a profit culture as well, and making profit a habit within your agency. Now, you know, they're 5 very, very broad areas. You know, we wouldn't be able to touch on all of those today. You know, we'd need hours. You'd be bored to death of me by the time we get through that. But I think for me, like, the planning side of things is probably the number 1 area I'd focus on, and can really directly relate to your new business as well. You know, I think having a really logical, methodical plan for your new business just makes an enormous difference, rather than the winging it that I think a lot of agency owners probably do as well.
Yeah, plan. You know, if you don't have a vision, I mean, that's where it has to start, right? It's the same with anything in life. If you don't know where you're heading, you're never going to get there. So it is so important to set that vision. And I mean, one of the things, I've been working with a non-exec recently. Shout out to Ryan Hall. If anyone needs a non-exec, I can introduce you to him. He is brilliant. And what it's really helped me do is focus on where we want to get to, set that mission, you know, and how, you know, so set the vision, look at the kind of things that we need to do, the mission that we need to go on, get there, and actually aligning the whole of the agency. I've been really open and clear about our profit targets, our, you know, turnover, what they can do in order to help us, you know, get to that end goal. And I think lots of agencies, you don't want to do that. And in fact, even my other half was like, no, why would you tell everyone all of that information? You know, he worked, his parents owned an architect's business, which I guess isn't that different to what we do. But I was like, because how can I set their KPIs and their objectives and get my team there if I haven't shared it with them? If it's my secret, how on earth? And I think lots of us, and you know, I've sat in agencies where you do have a fantastic board and the board know what's going on, but if you don't share that with the rest of the agency, and look, as agencies get larger, it's not always so easy to get everyone on board, but your leadership team or your management team, or, you know, your senior team, however you want to you know, I guess name them, you need to take people on this journey with you, because it is, you know, we're in a service industry, and in order to get there, it's everyone's effort, right? So you not only need to have a plan for your marketing and your sales, but you need to have a vision, and people need to know how they can help get you there, because, you know, your team hopefully will be helping deliver your marketing and your sales strategy and nurturing and growing your clients. So if you don't tell them what you're aiming towards and why I mean, obviously some of it's obvious, but I just think exciting people and getting people behind that mission is a really, really helpful thing to do, certainly if you're trying to grow quickly, which, I mean, I don't know if we were a year or two ago, but we have, so now we are. So yeah, that's where we are. And
politely putting my hand up, because I actually want to bring it back to marketing. So I'm a marketeer, and actually what I'm fascinated by is this conversation. So you're talking about, you know, preparedness and profitability and bringing teams along and having a vision. Actually, foundational to that is having a brand. So, you know, who is brand X agency or Y agency? And as a client, do I see that brand? And Gordan, you articulated it beautifully. You're so kind of focusing on the inbound and the outbound, all of your content marketing and, you know, your ABM and all of that kind of stuff. But who are you? And who you are is also how you recruit. And who you are, Katie, are those people who come on board and really take your agency to the next level and to the next stage. And then maybe go off and create their own satellite agency, which, you know, it specializes in certain areas. I was part of a really, successful agency story, Lexis, way back in the days. And it was a comms agency that didn't brand itself as a comms agency. It made a mistake. It rebranded as a conversation agency, and nobody understood that. But before that, it was a fantastic PR comms agency that worked broadly with consumer brands, but it really knew what it was. And actually what you're talking about, that we called it a town hall. It was every quarter, and they opened up the books and basically said, look, this is what we're achieving. These were the objectives. Financially, this is how we're doing. We're profitable on these accounts, not on these accounts. It was all open. It was to everybody in the business, from the receptionist through to the interns. It was completely open and transparent. And as a result of that, everybody knew the little things that they needed to do to be a part of that. But more importantly, we had 4 key points that we all understood was brand Lexis, and we lived that brand. God, did we live that brand. And, I'm still in contact with those guys 20 years on, and it was a really big part of us. And it was wonderful to be part of that success. So understand who you are, create your brand and articulate that brand, not just through content marketing, but for everything that you do, Anyhow, shut up, Michelle. For me, I don't see why more agencies don't see this, that they are a brand. And actually, I think the new breed of the comms agencies are pretty good at this. So the Don't Cry Wolves and the Shooks and the Hard Numbers, they have had an opportunity to really rebrand themselves and say, we're not like any old PR agency. We do ABM, we do, the hard numbers, or we are ESG, corporate social responsibility drives us. They're really clear on what their brand is. So kind of look out for those guys, because I think they're doing quite exciting stuff.
Yeah, and you're totally right. You can't do the ABM or the marketing if you don't know who you are. You don't know what your brand is. Fundamentally, it has to start there. So doing that vision, in terms of order, you want to set your vision for your agency first. You then, obviously, off the back of that, will set your mission, and then hopefully there'll be some values that are going to take you there. And then from that, you can develop your value proposition once you've done your market research that you were talking about, Gordan. And that's how you then set your marketing strategy. And that means that you're talking about the right things to the right people in the right place, hopefully at the right time, and it all ties together beautifully, and it makes sense. And that's something I think because I've been very lucky. I've grown up in sales and marketing my entire career, and I'm an agency founder now, and I know how important that is. So it's been it's one of the key cornerstones for growth. There's lots of other things that influence growth, but I really do believe new business and marketing has to probably, I'd be interested to hear what your thoughts are on this, guys, be the most important thing for growth. Would you say that's, it has been for us. It's been the thing that's helped us grow the quickest, new business and marketing. What would you guys say?
I think so. I just want to jump back to a point Michelle made about the conversation agency, which I think is quite relevant to something we've seen in the last couple of years. So Tribal We will talk about ourselves as a total experience agency. We look beyond just customer experience. We look at employee experience and the systems underneath. And it's a great model and a proposition to talk clients through when you've got 5 or 10 minutes of their time. It hasn't worked as well. And we used to put this very much out there of going, we are this, but it isn't necessarily what people were looking for. I'm looking for an ad agency, a digital agency, a media. It's like, I'm not looking for a total experience agency. I'm not looking for a conversation agency. And so it's also, those messages don't have to be the same. And that's just something you learn. It's what we've got this big new shiny proposition, and we were pushing it out to the market, and something wasn't quite right. And you talk to the client stuff, but when you've got 5-10 minutes of their time and you can walk them through, they go, oh, that's great, that's brilliant, that's a really mature way of looking at our marketing, we really get that. But trying to put that into a LinkedIn post that's this big and you've got about 2 seconds of someone's time, it doesn't work. So I think that's something that you have to learn all the time, because just going and doing a workshop, working down the vision, mission, all that stuff, and then go, cool, sorted it, let's run with it, great, but you have to keep looking at it, what's working, what's not working. Again, be really honest with ourselves of going, I think there's maybe something not quite right here and we can tweak it. Because it's that stuff you talk to your own clients about. It's like, how do we get people to notice us? And then there's when we've got a conversation with them, and then we're going to give them a proposal. So yeah, that was just a really interesting point, hearing another agency sort of been down a similar road.
And I think to your question, Katie, absolutely. New business is the engine for growth. And then talent attraction and retention. And then, the relationship that you have with those clients, keeping hold of those clients and growing with them. Ultimately, much every CMO is responsible for growth in their organization. Now, that just comes back to a basic true fact that, we want our clients, our agencies to be really, really good, because we want them to help us grow, but also we want them to be partners, and we want them to be profitable, because if they're not profitable, then they can't retain the right talent, and then the relationship kind of goes as well. So yeah, in answer to your question, absolutely, new business is the engine for growth, but brand and who you are and articulating that culture, all of those different things are the engine behind, actually, I think, retention and winning that business in the first place.
I completely agree with Michelle. And actually, it's really interesting, Michelle, you describing new business as the engine. You may have seen the Simon Sinek video, Money is Fuel, that I love. And I harp on about this constantly, but literally a 60-second clip, you'd find it on YouTube, Money is Fuel by Simon Sinek. And obviously he's going to put it in a much more eloquent way than I will, but to summarize it, he's talking about how, you don't buy a car to put fuel in it, but you need the fuel to go places, which is why you kind of have the car, right? And a business is in a very similar way. Actually, that business is your car, and you need that fuel to go in to go where you want to go, and actually to meet that purpose that you have for the business, and to achieve those wider goals. So, like, absolutely, you need that new business just to be putting fuel in the tank, and that's going to like, new business kind of makes every challenge easier as well, doesn't it? If you're constantly winning new business, you probably can over deliver a little bit, which is a huge challenge for a lot of agencies. It gives you that buffer to be able to do that. It might also mean that, okay, if you've got bad payment terms with some of your clients, which again is another huge issue for small agencies, well, actually, if you've got constant new business coming in the door, again, it gives you that buffer, and it kind of allows you to survive that potentially. I'm not suggesting they're not issues, but it just certainly sort of softens the impact of those things as well.
So true. Oh, what a brilliant panel. I love having you guys with me today. It's awesome. We have had a good question, actually, from the lovely Anna Stone. Hello, Anna. She has said, I wonder how many agencies link organic growth and net new growth? And do new biz teams ever get involved in existing client growth? Should they? And I wonder if any of the panel have ever seen that work. So first, I'm going to kick this off. And Gordan, I know you're going to have opinions on this. Well, I'm sure all of you are. But this used to be a real frustration of mine, because I was, leading new biz at agencies, and I'm not saying that this is the wrong approach. And like we've said, new business is the engine, and we used to do really well. Some years we were winning 20 odd new clients, and I'm talking like big brands, Cancer Research, Vodafone, Channel 4. We were smashing our new business. We were doing really, really well at attracting and winning, those clients through our marketing. But it was when there was a gap in the agency, it was always new business that was looked at, and there was a whole load of opportunities going on within the existing client base that weren't being treated in the same. We had a fantastic, very robust extra. We were always looking to those marginal gains. What can we do better? New business, we had it, cooking on gas. We knew how to do it. I don't think, and sorry if any of you are listening that were in the client team with me at this particular agency, that it was being done in the same way with our existing clients. We weren't unlocking that growth with our existing clients. We weren't treating, even when they were new biz opportunities, when we were having to re-pitch, for big things, and I will call some of them out, like the RNLI, they weren't being treated. They weren't being run through the same process that we had for new business. And therefore we weren't as good at winning them. And I think if we had someone from the new business team, or with that new business lens on those opportunities, especially the ones where we're re-pitching and the account's in jeopardy, we would have probably retained more, and we probably would have grown more. And it is definitely something that I see. So 100%, I would agree that if you've got, it depends on the capacity, right, as well. If you've got a lot of new business to deal with, and then having the capacity to put that person on existing client, growth as well is not always easy. But yeah, I would say 100%. In terms of the practicalities of making it work, I don't know. Guys, any other thoughts?
Yeah, I'll jump in here. So yeah, I think it's very similar to you, Katie. Like I've worn many hats over the time. So when I used to have my account man hat on, it's yes, you're trying to grow things, but you're also trying to run the body of work you've got. So you've only got so much capacity to try and spot that new opportunity. And yet it makes your life easier, back to sort of Rory's point. If you've got new money flowing in, something can go wrong over here and it's okay, because at the end of the day, that finance meeting you have every month just goes that bit easier. If you found a new thing to sort of bring in, new project to sell. I think from a sort of account lead point of view, everyone is a little bit different. Some will be naturally looking for that new thing, but maybe they're not quite as good as the dealing with the paperwork behind the scenes, whereas other people are a bit more like, no, I'm here to run this thing and that's it. And often somewhere a lot of people are sort of in the middle. I think it is trying to find those opportunities. So we're sort of recently in Tribal, we have a lot of clients they're relatively stable. They're quite large clients. The teams run them brilliantly, but we've just won quite a new sort of large client. It's a group of brands, and there is a body of work which the team will now go and deliver, and they'll do that brilliantly. And of course, they'll look for opportunities. But as a new biz team, we're going to consciously stay involved, and we're now going to sort of not sort of try and grow from the sort of core of the work we've got, but we're going to go and try and work with the different brands and things like this, sort of almost sort of go at it from different angles, working with the sort of business director and things very closely, because we're not competing, we're ultimately trying to do the same thing. And we all have to sync up going, oh, I just met this person in a workshop, or hey, this person just followed us on LinkedIn, like try and make those connections. But it isn't easy, because you don't want to tread on each other's toes. But it is a sort of, as Katie, you were saying, it is the sort of traditional model of going, we've won that, that's your problem now. And then they'll be given a bit of a stretch target for the year. But do they have time to do it? Is it their focus? Maybe not. Have they ever had any training to sort of, how do you sell more? It's a different world. It's a different mentality. So I think trying to bring the two teams closer together where you can is definitely something to try and do. But it's also not appropriate in every client. If you've got a client who always is, you're at that level and they like things run nice and steadily, suddenly putting in a more sales focused person, they'll be like, well, what are you doing here? It might actually have a negative impact. How can you maybe show the client in a different light, or how can you try and organically grow them? Might have to be done very carefully, but the more upfront, I'm here, I'm going to try and sell you something today approach might not work with every client. So it's case by case, but I think, it's agencies traditionally separate them, and it's not normally the right way.
Again, I'm going to apply a slightly different lens, and I'm going to make a really quick point here. If agencies were more like SaaS companies, what they would do, they would have targets on retention and upsell, and you'd have a client value, your lifetime value, and you would really, really focus super hard on retention, because that, we were talking about the new business being the engine. Actually, for SaaS businesses, your retention is your engine, okay? And actually what that retention piece does is that then that generates and drives new business for you. So I think one thing that you must all remember, and I've again sort of been both sides of the pond, is that there are very few CMOs out there. There are very few heads of design, heads of comms, etc. And we all talk to each other. So we have a very good idea in certain industries and sectors of who the great agencies are and who don't deliver. So your retention and your account management teams are critical engines of growth as well. Really challenge them and target them to be the best they possibly can for their clients, because actually it's not necessarily about that new business bit. It's about how well are they retaining your business? How well are they, delivering against your vision and your growth targets? And also how well do they understand you and adapt? Everybody loses talent, but are they bringing on new talent, bringing on new ideas as well? So SaaSify your agency business. There we go. There's a nice tweet for you.
Love that. Setting up our social media strategy.
Yeah, there we go.
Michelle, honestly, I'm a total fan of yours already. You've been so brilliant.
I've been waiting for this opportunity to go, listen, it's really not that hard. Develop your brand, have your mission, put the structure in with somebody like Rory, make sure you don't have bad debts, retain your clients, do brilliant things, awards and all of those kind of things. Yeah, we kind of look at them, but we don't really. We just ask around, who's really good for this? Because, that happens. And I think people really underestimate the power of networks. So I'm in a network of 350 leading digital ladies. How about that? And we just chat to each other about, who's working with what agency, what are they like? You guys don't see all of that because it happens in, private networks. But, that's the powerful thing. So, understand that, and that can drive your
you have to be visible, right, to be recommended. You're only going to have a finite number of clients. And of course, encourage your clients to refer you. If you're doing a great job for your clients and they really love you, ask them to refer you. 100% a no-brainer. But say you're an agency and you're a sizable agency, you might have 20, 50, clients ish. But that's only a finite amount. What we're talking about here is how do you, and that's why I just think marketing is so important, because it's your voice to the world. And if you don't show up, you're not going to get found, and it's going to be so much harder for you to grow. You're not saying that you can't grow, because there are loads of you out there, and you probably can tell me differently in the chat, but that you will have grown on referrals. Most agencies have, but you'll get to a certain place where that gets much harder. So if you don't market yourselves and you don't put yourselves out there, then there's going to be other people that are, and your noise is going to be far less than theirs. You need to be the noisiest. And in fact, I've got this lovely little workbook here with my horrible writing all over it, because I was lucky to do another course. I'm all about doing, never stop learning, guys. Hence I launched Tamba, which I will talk to you about at the end. But really, to my mind, there are 4 really interesting areas that can help you with your growth. And this was one that I picked up on, and I wanted to share it with you today. So the first one, which I think we've done quite well with at Street, and hopefully all of you on this webinar will agree, is market penetration. So in our existing marketplace, which is, we help agencies and tech companies with their attract and win new clients. We have penetrated that market. That's been, our strategy since day one. We show up everywhere. We produce lots of helpful content. And I mean, I don't just do that to market ourselves. I do actually do it because I love it. And I love hearing from you all as well. But we have focused on market penetration, which is what we pretty much do for all of our clients, because that's what the marketing and the sales side of it will help you do. The second one, which is really interesting, is you can then start to look at market development. What new markets could you go into? So we've actually accidentally sold into new markets, which has proven that what we do works for various other B2B businesses. So now we're going, okay, so next year, what can we do to grow in those new markets and start, market penetration in slightly different markets that we maybe haven't thought about before? And then there's, of course, new products and new services. So again, that's something else that we're just about to launch. So we've very much focused on the attract and the marketing side of the new business journey. Now we're looking at, okay, what about launching a win process that really helps agencies on the conversion side and the pitch process, because we do the beginning bit, but we need to look at the whole journey. So what can we do to help agencies with that piece? So we're looking at new products. And then, of course, the most exciting one, which I guess is Tamba to a certain extent, is the product and market diversification. So what other really different, innovative things could you do that is totally new to the market or totally different? So I love that, product development, market diversification, market penetration, and market development. If you haven't thought about those 4 key areas as part of your strategies for growth, then definitely look at them, because that, to me, and a lot of them we were doing, and I hadn't really worked out what the 4 things were. And then this course just really helped me focusing, going, oh, actually, we're kind of doing, without me planning it so quite so clearly, we're kind of doing some of this stuff already, and a lot of you guys will be. But I think having that knowledge and the ideas behind, and you may be able to do all of them at once, but phasing, right, okay, how are we going to approach this growth? I think it's really interesting. So I had to get that one in there. Rory, I know you've probably got some comments on that as well.
Yeah, well, I guess so to go back to the question from before, it's interesting that the 3 things we picked up on as we were debating that then was basically upselling to existing clients, retention, and then referrals. And I guess I have a case study that kind of combines the 3 of them really, really nicely. So what's interesting is it was one of the major benefits of the pandemic for this particular agency. So this is something they'd wanted to do. This is a small design agency down in Kent, 20 to 30 staff. And they'd always wanted to do more for their existing clients. but as always, you're busy delivering, aren't you? And it's just the constant busyness of life. They never got around to it. Like the pandemic hit and they went, right, we're pretty much forced into doing this because we need to focus entirely on retention right now. You know, we need to double down on our client experience and double down on the love that we're showing to our clients and keep them engaged. And so what they did is they set up what they called an innovation hub. So like I said, this is an idea they'd had for a long time, but the idea is these were creatives that were kind of 4 days a week, you know, delivering on projects, but 1 day a week, they were given free license to get creative and to come up with ideas for their clients. And it was so powerful because I think it beat all their expectations of the goodness that it could prove. Because first of all, not only did their clients really appreciate it at the time, and I think in all honesty, from the conversations I had with the client over that period, they didn't actually get many clients kind of buying at the time. You know, no one was putting their money into their pockets at that point. But boy, did it really help with that relationship and just show, wow, this is amazing. You know, we've seen a load of people that have furloughed everybody and gone into shutdown and aren't even marketing themselves. And you're still coming to us with these ideas. As soon as their budget did return and as soon as a little bit of normality did return, like boy, did the clients go straight back and go, hey, let's have that conversation again. But also then, like I said, tying it into the referrals piece, like, oh my God, like it was amazing. So suddenly these clients that were getting fed new ideas in the hardest times of their lives were then talking to their friends and saying, what? Oh, your agency's gone a bit quiet, have they? They like they're MIA. Well, you want to have a chat with these guys. And so it was amazing. It's something they're still doing now. So, and also like on a side note, how great must that be for that creative team? I bet loads of people would like love to be able to have that, you know, that day a week of just literally absolute like free license to get creative. So that was something I was going to share about that. And then I guess, Katie, to follow on what you were maybe asking was thoughts on that framework that you shared. And I guess I'm really curious about it. And it's difficult because I've only heard it at that sort of base level that you were talking through then. But I'm intrigued because I think there are huge benefits to niching and specializing in a particular market. And I'm sure this isn't suggesting you don't do that and you generalize massively, but I guess that kind of market expansion side of things and the new products and services, I guess sometimes it can be tempting as a business owner to go, what else can we do? What else is there? Who else could we do this for? But interestingly, obviously, idea today being around new business. Well, I think that ability to really niche and really specialize in what do you do? Like, what are you brilliant at doing and who are you brilliant at doing it for really helps with new business. Like I said, particularly for some of those smaller agencies that are starting out and are like, oh, I'm one of 10,000 agencies that are very, very similar to me right now. But hey, look, if I can be brilliant at working in the education sector and I can be brilliant at this particular like service, it's just going to help you with what doors you are trying to open rather than throw in stuff until it sticks, you know, and just kind of a scattergun approach. You know, you can really take that sniper approach to going, right, they'd be a perfect client, I'm going to try and get my foot in the door there. So that was
I totally agree, and I think that's how you get that market penetration. You know, that's why we've grown at Street, and I would never want to throw that in the bin, so we're being, by the way, very careful about how we approach this. But I do think you know, if you do it in the right way, and we're never going to be a B2C agency, and we're never, you know, we haven't marketed ourselves to some certain, you know, client types, yet we still attract them without even trying, really, which is amazing. But I agree. I think, you know, if you don't niche and you're trying, exactly like you, I think you said this at the beginning, Gordan, you know, if you're trying to be all things to all people, I can work with all different brands, you know, it does make it much harder. You know, when we work with agencies and we've got a specific message to a specific audience, we get much better, you know, we get much better market penetration. We can really hone in and make sure that we're everywhere. And then, you know, we do convert more because it just means that we're able to, you know, we're able to penetrate that market. It really is that simple. So if you're trying to do that in lots of markets, it obviously is much harder. So I think you have to be very, when you start to look at those strategies, those additional strategies for growth, you need to be in a really good place with your first set. And we're never going to let that go. We're always going to be the agency for agencies. That's not going to change. It's just that we may look at growing out other areas of street, or there may be sub brands, or we'll have to do it very, very cleverly. But I think you do need to consider how, when you get to a certain place, is market penetration enough? Should we be looking at other things?
There's a really good case study for that. So in Brighton, an agency called Propeller were really good at SEO, had really, got market share, and got to a point where actually I think they were sort of thinking, we're doing this by numbers, we're feeling a little bit stale. And Jack Hubbard, who was the founder, had this idea called Dreams Factory, and people were able to put what they wanted to do, what their innovative idea was, and it was in a bubblegum machine, and they twist it, and then once a month one of these ideas factory came out. And I don't know if anybody knows of these two tools. Again, I'm going to keep using this phrase, SaaSify your business, because when you get to that kind of stage, start to think like a product, because you can only go so far with the service, can't you? Let's be honest with you. There's only such a level of profitability. But when you start to develop products, then you can really scale and grow. So what these guys did was they developed two products. One was called Answer the Public. Remember that, where you put a question in search and it visualizes searches on certain keywords and topics. So that's a freemium product. And the other one is Coverage Book, which is a really cheap, very good way of pulling in online coverage into a lovely sort of online visual representation, and it brings income streams into their agency. Still got the agency business, but have got these two highly profitable SaaS products on the side, which I think when you've reached that level of penetration, Katie, and you're absolutely right, that's when you start to think about, well, okay, maybe it isn't just about services, maybe there's a way to productize this.
Yeah, I love that. And even sometimes, if you're not quite there yet, productizing your services so they're a bit easier for people to buy. That's been something, I know, Gordan, we've spoken about that quite a bit, but packaging things, make it easy for people to buy you. That is, like, honestly, one of the best things that you can do. And there'll be lots of, again, this is something that we work on, not just ourselves, but with our clients. But, what can we productize? What can be the first thing that someone buys, from you? So it doesn't always have to be, for us, typically, we are on a retainer with most of our clients. I'm sure it's the same with you guys, Rory, but not everyone wants to make that big commitment and come straight in and do a retainer. So what other things could we sell them and productize to a certain extent to get them through the door? And I think that's really important. And it's a big piece of work we often do with our clients is how can we package things up, and often, the old school way, and I'm not saying this is a bad way, we do this as well, would be then getting some landing pages up and putting some money and PPC campaigns behind them. But you can also push that out to the market and just talk about those products and services. And it might be training packages like the web company do, it might be a specific course, it might be a strategy setting, it might be for us it's things like we can help develop your sales and marketing strategy, you can go and then deliver it. It might be we can do a pitch doctor on a pitch for you and teach you how to pitch better, and then you can go off and use that formula for other pitches. We can help you create a value proposition, whatever it might be, but they're productized off, or deliver a webinar, whatever it might be. They're things, and you'll see this on our website soon, hopefully, that you'll start, you really do need to think about that. Don't make it easy for people to buy you, and it doesn't have to be launching separate products, but just productizing your offering.
And you can create baseline products. So we've got people on Guild in HR, for example, and you're starting off a business, you're an entrepreneur, or you're a really small business, and you can't afford an HR person, and actually you can't afford a consultant, but what you can afford is a monthly retainer. You're part of a Guild community. There's all the policies that are there for you to download, but actually you get an hour a month speaking to, the consultant. And that just means that this person then can have 50 or 60 people within a community, and then that monthly retainer of, 20, 30 pounds from 60 small businesses. So, it's possible to productize in using technology that's available, including Guild as a community platform and a knowledge management platform. in a way that you've never been able to before. So I think the idea of sort of innovating your business and looking at ways to productize is a really, really smart thing to do.
Yeah,
one of the things we had is sort of you obviously get the larger pitches and RFPs in. That's part of it. You're going to have to go through those processes. You can't fully avoid them, but really trying to build relationships outside of those. But the hardest thing is to get them to agree to that first bit of money, that first little project. It might be tiny, so small that people are like, oh, why are we even bothering? It's like, because we're trying to show them what we're like to work with. Like, there's the pitch version of ourselves, there's us in a cred deck, but it's like, I think we back ourselves that when we work on a client, clients like us. We're good. Like, the teams that work on them, like, they stick around for a long time. Like, our retention is great. But how do we show them that? It's like, well, let's work with them for a little bit for a tiny amount of money. Sometimes it's free, sometimes it's a small amount of money. And it strips away the sort of the flashiness, the documents, the pitching, that just like, cool, we're here and this is your team and that's our team. We're going to work together and it's great. And that's that thing of just that little introductory thing, which, hey, look, and you can just repeat it, whether it's a workshop format or a training thing, and it's just repeat it and it's finding what that thing is. And it builds. I was going to make a couple other points as well, but discussion went a different point. I think it was Rory started talking about building relationships initially, and it's like that's something as well we've really tried to work out, because when you're going after new clients, it can be sort of an emotive thing. If you lose that client, it's like, oh, it's terrible. They've made the wrong choice, and off down the pub, so all moan about it. And then it's like, right, you G yourself up and you go for the next one. Whereas what we've really been trying to do is build up a really good warm pool of relationships that we keep nurturing, you keep coming back to, because I think it was Michelle, you said it's like, we don't know, or actually, sorry, Rory, you were talking about the innovation example, and it's like they didn't buy straight away, but then they did eventually. It's like you have to keep working at it, and it's like build those relationships and build your reputation within them, so that even if you've said no to, you've turned down an opportunity or you didn't win something, end it on good terms, because you have no idea what's going to happen next. That person will change jobs. They'll come back with another opportunity. They will refer you to someone else. And it's there now. And we're seeing that a lot now. Last year was obviously very difficult. The number of pitches and RFPs that we would go for were very, very minimal, but we didn't slow down. But we built this huge, big network now and database of people who we actually would answer the phone to us, would respond to an email. They haven't worked with us yet, they're not clients yet, but we have a relationship there. And what we've seen this year, and Katie mentioned it earlier, it's like we have won lots of new clients, which is great, but that was because of the relationships we built last year. And we kept them warm, we were friendly, even if we said no to a brief they sent through last year, or we went for something and we came second, which is always frustrating. They came back, somebody changes jobs, they mention us to someone else. And that's what we've seen this year. That has really come back. Now that takes effort, it takes time, it takes a team to do so, but it's getting out of that really spiky nature of win a pitch, lose three, win a pitch, etc. It's actually just trying to be part of that. Often there are bigger budgets there, but where you can build up your own relationships, but don't just think that's going to be a quick fix. That's going to take 6 months, 9 months, a year to really start to pay off. And that's something, we've been sort of working out a lot. So.
Yeah, I think attitudinally, you've got to have, and you guys have this, and that's why you're a long-standing client and you're a brilliant client, and that's why our work together does so well, because attitudinally, you've got the right attitude to new business. And this is something that we find frustrating. We have had clients which we've stopped working with because they haven't had the same kind of attitude. Is there is no silver bullet. You might get a quick silver bullet opportunity, and that is always our aim when we're working with clients, of course. But in order to make new business easier and better, you've got to do this continually, always. There is no rest period. There's no like, we're going to do it for 6 months, we're going to do a campaign, and then we're going to stop. No, this is every week, every month, every year, year after year, and it just gets easier and easier and easier. And the more you do it, the better it gets. And Gordan's a fantastic case study for that. So many people give up after 6 months, a year, go, didn't work. We didn't see the results that we wanted to see, so we've stopped. And you know what? I could have done that. I could have stopped doing. We didn't get great. The podcast does really well now, but it didn't do well after 6 minutes. It did do well. We did make it into the top 20 actually of the marketing podcast, but it didn't. It wasn't delivering me loads of new business leads. Now it does, because we've kept at it. There are silver bullets, but it won't be a long-term fix. You've got to, and I always refer to it like a snowball. You keep it rolling, and it just picks up more and more. And again, attitudinally, you've got to be willing to be nice, and sometimes to go in and do smaller projects to get in and then spread like wildfire. You might not land your perfect project as your first piece of work with a client, but you'll get in the door and then you'll grow it. And I think that, again, you as an agency owner or someone in new business, you've got to really have that kind of approach to new business that is open, willing, and I think attitudinally it's so important.
And if I can add to that as well, Katie, I was talking earlier about that, having that methodical approach to new business. And I think this is exactly what we're talking about there. So it can be really daunting, again, to relate it back to some of the smaller agencies where the owner is doing this new business themselves. They don't have new business resource. They're trying to do 1,001 things. It can be really draining going, oh my God, I need to win like £50,000 of new business this month or this quarter. Where do you start with that? That can be really draining. That can be really demoralizing as well. How I would encourage you to work that out is go through this method to actually calculate what's the activity you need to do that is going to relate to that 50,000. So you work backwards. It's like a bottom-up approach. So, okay, if I need £50,000 of new business, okay, how many proposals do I need to win to get that 50,000? It might be 3. To win those 3 proposals, how many proposals do I need to issue? It might be 6 because I'm at a 50% conversion rate. To issue those 6 proposals, how many meetings do I need to have? It might be 12. And you see the point I'm trying to make. You're working back, and ultimately you can look at, right, well, how am I going to get those 12 meetings? So that might be Katie delivering a podcast. She knows she's going to get 3 as a result of the podcast each time she runs one. Okay, so there's a target. Okay, I'm going to do 4 of those in a month. Another approach might be LinkedIn outreach. And okay, how many messages am I going to send that month? And if you can focus on the leading indicators, the things you can affect, the non-financial things, and if you can just get in that hustle mode of just hitting those targets every single month, every single week, that 50,000 will just start to happen, and it will all come out in the wash. But it's a good way to motivate you. You could get to the last week of the month and go, oh, I've only done 3 podcasts. I need to do one next week, and it just gives you that drive. So that's
definitely, it's something that we've tried to do as well, as going actually tracking the core numbers and track everything. Even an opportunity that comes in, you look at it for 5 minutes and go, no, that's wrong for us. Track it. Because at some point you need to go, well, we did get all these opportunities, but some of them were wrong, or we rejected loads, or we passed them on to other people we knew, or we lost them. Too often it's easy to just go, oh, look, we won X percentage and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, but what about all the other stuff that happened? Because that's great. You can start to see patterns and trends. We started going back about 3 years ago, I think. We started doing some sort of senior level roundtable breakfast event, which have moved online now and things. And actually, straight away, could we see that we felt they were good, but you couldn't necessarily see it. But then you could start to see, when we looked at everyone off the back, on average, we would get 3 really good conversations off the back of them. Were we winning clients straight away? No, but really consistently we were getting good conversations off the back, and then they start to come to fruition. But sometimes having that data, if you having to present that to other people, can be quite powerful, because you can put up that slide, those numbers, and you can go, okay, in the last year we saw 50 opportunities, and straight away people are like, no, that's ridiculous. No, we didn't. No, we only did 8 pitches or 6 pitches or 4 pitches last year. And I was like, well, we still saw 50 opportunities. Like, you can't argue with it. And it's like, look, we rejected 10, and 10 we didn't get through the first round. That was annoying, wasn't it? But it still happened. And it's like actually just breaking it down and then seeing, right, well, our problem was we've gone for too many things. So we've gone for too many things because we were chasing too much. That's the problem that we need to now address. We need to go for less and win more. But actually the volume of things we're seeing, brilliant. Let's not change that. So we need to keep the machine going. But I think that's something that's really helped sort of, yes, in a larger organization where you have to sort of share upwards quite a lot and things, and you're trying to bring people on that journey, is keeping a record of everything that happens in that new biz world. Conversations, opportunities, briefs, wins, losses, why you did, all of those things. Don't just write the good stuff down.
Yeah, save the data. I think so. Again, and have a good, we haven't talked enough about that probably. God, there was so much to talk about today, but of course we focused on the marketing and the new business stuff. But yeah, definitely make sure that you've got a CRM and you've got your report, not just got a CRM, but you're reporting on it and you're making the most of it and you're understanding what that data means so that you can plan better for next year. And I hope this has given you all some really good ideas for 2022. Now we are at midday. I have launched the poll in the background. If you haven't voted, we would love it if you could vote, and I will quickly end it and share the results with you all so you can see it. And of course we save it. We're going to be looking at all the results that we've had. Obviously we've been running this webinar, well gosh, for well over a year and a half now, but certainly we'll be looking at all the data that we've captured from this year. So look at that segue about data. So we will share that with you because there's going to be some really interesting insights to what's been happening over the last year or even year and a half. We'll see what we can glean for it that we can share with you. Thank you so much, my amazing panel. I feel, Michelle, you were incredibly, not that you guys weren't popular, but Michelle, incredibly popular. I know that people are going to want to find out more about all of your businesses, but specifically, I know a lot of us can get involved with the Guild. So it'd be great if you can share some details with me.
I've posted in the chat a link to a Guild community. It's called Digital and Marketing Pioneers. Our founder runs it, Ashley Friedland, who founded eConsultancy, who you probably know. So come and join us. We're friendly. We'll help you out. So whether it's agency thought leadership or whether you just want to participate in some communities, come and find us. We pay our taxes and we're a nice friendly home.
Love that. Rory, you're like
ethical British business, not like Gaffer. There we go. Sorry, guys.
Of course, we'll share some information on the WOW company. We do have, the bench press report. If you guys haven't read it, please do read it. Sorry, I know I'm over time. I will. I'll end the poll and share the results for those of you that are still here. So yeah, of course, the same goes for Rory. There's some awesome assets, information. There's the bench press report, fantastic training, loads of really lovely little videos that I know that you and Peter Chapp have delivered, who's also been on the webinar and the podcast previously. So we'll share some links to that as well. And we'll obviously just share some links to the amazing marketing that Tribal does to show you all how to do it because it works, as Gordan shared with us all. So thank you all so much. Our sponsors, as always, are Tamba, and in fact, this is now going out live through Tamba as well. So we are in beta at the moment for Tamba. For those of you that don't know what Tamba is, it's the Agency New Business Academy. It's a membership, basically platform that gives training, insights, everything on how to attract and win more new business. Do go and check it out if you haven't already. But otherwise, go in and enjoy what I think is going to be quite a sunny day. Well, it was sunny in Bournemouth. It was sunny earlier, but the sunshine is coming out this week, I think, for all of us. So yeah, go and enjoy some sunshine and go and win lots of more new clients, if I can talk quickly. Yeah, thanks everyone.
Thanks, Katie.
Thanks, Katie.
Thanks, Katie.